Right, hopefully everybody can see that. So, yeah, as Linda said, UK businesses are under cyber attack. There are approximately 21,000 cyber attacks on the UK businesses every day. Not all of them successful. A lot of them are detected and defeated. But then every so often we get to see the big ones. Actually, so yeah, AI disclosure. All the content is created by me. The pictures on the slides are AI. Did anybody see Panorama on Monday night? Panorama covered essentially what I'm covering today, with interviews with the National Cyber Security Centre and the National Crime Agency. It's available on what's the BBC's iPlayer, and it's worth a watch. But you'll get as good quality over the next hour, good quality information over the next hour as well. So you will have heard of these attacks. British Library in 2023. They had all of their online content encrypted with ransomware. They didn't pay the ransom, and they are still recovering. I'm delighted to say that I'm actually working with the British Library by working with their small business community. As Linda mentioned earlier on, Synovis, the pathology lab system partnership with King's College, Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Trust, this time last year. Again, were attacked with ransomware. And it put the NHS in South and South East London in absolute chaos for a number of weeks. I've seen reports, as Linda mentioned, that a person actually lost their life because blood supplies weren't available. Synovis is still working out how much personal data was lost, how much of our patient records was lost to the hackers. And then we come to this year. The day before Easter, M&S announced that they'd been attacked. Their online shop was offline for 6-7 weeks. Their stock system was encrypted. So I have a chat with the food manager in Charlton every day, every time I go in, and they're still recovering. For again, about the first 6 weeks after the attack, they couldn't get the food they actually needed. They were just getting a standard delivery of food, which meant they were overstocked in some items, understocked in other items. And while we're talking about that, then there's also the impact on the general staff of companies of a cyber attack. So they were, the food managers having to deal with not having the food they need in the shop, but then also having to deal with frustrated, impatient customers explaining why their favorite pate or whatever is not on the shelves. So there's also an impact to everybody, to the general employee of a cyber attack. A few days after M&S, Co-op also announced that they'd been attacked. They lost the personal information of their 6 million members and all their employees. They apparently managed to detect the attack before the ransomware was actually deployed, but they'd already lost the data. And then a couple of days after the Co-op, Harrods also announced that they'd been attacked. I must say that Harrods have been particularly opaque in letting us know what actually happened and how much personal information has been lost. However, you probably haven't heard of these. We'll start with Knights of Old. Knights of Old is was a logistics company based in Northampton. And because somebody shared their password across applications, both work and social, they had a compromised password. When a password of yours is stolen, it is like going into a supermarket to buy cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese is always going to be on the supermarket shelf. Your stolen password is always available in the dark web supermarket. So if you've had a password compromised, it is always available. So I have a client who recycled his passwords, and he looked back and he thought, I last used this password in 2016. That was the year that LinkedIn had a big attack and lost lots of our passwords. He started to reuse that password, and I think it was by the end of the first day that he was using it, where he was now using it, he suffered and he lost data. Anyway, back to Knights of Old. Due to an employee sharing their password across applications, both work and social media, the threat actors were able to gain access to Knights of Old, and they deployed ransomware across all of their systems, and Knights of Old couldn't afford to pay the ransom. The ransom was multi-million pounds. In 2023, they had 500 trucks transporting goods across the UK and Europe, and 700 employees. Those 700 employees are now looking for work because Knights of Old, a 150-year-old company, no longer exists. Then we come to clients of mine. They weren't clients when they were attacked, where we've helped them or are helping them restructure their business and make it more resilient. So if we start off with a private equity house, the CEO of this private equity house I knew from my KPMG days. We left KPMG about the same time. He was in mergers and acquisitions, and he set up a private equity house. Lots of money sloshing around. He bought a brand new BMW Series 7 in 2022, and he splashed it across social media. The threat actors picked this up, probably using AI, and they linked his social media accounts to his LinkedIn account. Oh, he works at a private equity house, they thought. Lots of money there. And so they set up an attack. They spoofed an email from one of his friends saying, hi, just seen, love your new motor. I've just passed it. Did you know it's got a dent in it? Pick attached. CEO picked it up late on a Thursday night. So he was annoyed. And he clicked on the JPEG that was attached. And up comes what he now knows was a fake Microsoft login page. So even more annoyed, he furiously tapped in his Microsoft login details. And of course, nothing happened. Or so he thought. He breathed a sigh of relief and went home and then got on with business. But of course, something had happened. He'd given away his Microsoft 365 logon details. He'd allowed the threat actors in, and they sat and they watched how he interacted with his team, how he interacted with the outsourced accountant. When they realized the accountant and he were busy, they knew exactly how to write an email in the same way that he wrote an email. And they sent an email from his email account, because they had access to it, to the accountant saying, please set up this new supplier. Not unusual for the accountant to receive such a request. The accountant set up the new supplier. Then they went back to Fleet, and when they realized that he was traveling, they sent another email on the day that he was traveling saying, we've missed a payment deadline. How did we manage to do that with this new supplier? We need to pay them £100,000. Fortunately, the planets aligned on the day, and the CEO's plane was delayed, so he was still in the departure lounge. And what the threat actors had missed was the accountant's payment authority limit was £80,000. So the accountant prepared a payment request, sent it to the CEO. He said, who's this company? What are we paying them for? And the accountant said, well, you asked me to set them up. He said, well, I didn't. The accountant sent him the email requesting the setup and the payment request. And he said, it then dawned on him what had happened. And he said, can you call Bryan? And we traced it back to that night when he let them in. More recently, there is a local business. And they became collateral damage of a bigger attack. Their IT support company suffered a ransomware attack. So my unfortunate client had all of their live data, all of their backup data encrypted by ransomware, courtesy of their IT support company. Now, personally, I think the owners of the IT support company should be taken to Tower Hill, hung, drawn, and quartered in public. It is absolutely unforgivable for an IT support company not to have sufficient cyber security in place to prevent attacks that will impact their clients. But we're now working with this local business to restructure the business, to make them more cyber resilient, and their business is now hosted by what we call a managed security service provider, who monitors the activity all day, every day, and keeps them more secure. So why aren't the threat actors caught? Who are they, and why haven't they been caught? Well, if we ignore nation-state hacking, because they're usually after intellectual property or destructive attacks against the UK. And if we look at the global value of cybercrime, it is 10 trillion US dollars. If we view that as the GDPR of a country, cybercrime ranks as third behind the GDP of the US and China. Now, even I find that terrifying. Now, who are the people? Well, in the cybersecurity industry, the threat actors from various countries are given an animal. So Russia is given a bear, China is given pandas, India, for example, is the tiger. I'm not actually sure what the UK is, but I'm sure there'll be an animal for the UK. I'm sure we do have threat actors based in the UK. But ransomware attack in 2025 have been led by the following gangs. Gang called Clock, they've been traced to Russia. Another gang called Ransom Hub, not quite sure whether it's Russian-based or Russian Federation-based, but essentially Russia. Akira, yeah, who are the gang who attacked the Knights of Old truck company, logistics company. They've been based to Russia. And Lockbit, who attacked the local business that I'm working with, have also been traced back to Russia. Now, the authorities in Russia don't have the same values as the authorities in the West, and they couldn't care less about Western companies being attacked by criminals in Russia. And that's why they haven't been caught and they haven't been arrested. The US has issued a 10 million, what do they call it? A 10 million reward for information leading to the arrest of the person who leads the Lockbit gang. But that is essentially why you see very rarely see these threat actors brought to justice. So, how did the hackers get in? They stole your identity. So forget about a hacker poring over code looking for a vulnerability. 84% of hacks in the last year used stolen access credentials to get in. That is your username, your password, and various security questions. The IT industry, we're so imaginative. We use things like your mother's maiden name, your favorite sports team, your pet's name as security questions. So in the Marks and Spencers and Co-op attacks and Harrods attack, they identified, again using AI, they identified who the IT admins were from their LinkedIn accounts. They then used AI to scan all the other social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., and identified their mother's maiden names, their favorite sports teams, pet's first name, etc. Then they phoned up Marks and Spencers and Co-ops and Harrods IT help desks and said, "I'm Brian. Need to reset my password." And they said, "Yes, of course. What was your mother's maiden name?" And of course, the threat actors had that information, and they were let in through the front door. Once they were in, because they had what we call elevated privileges, being an admin account, an administrator account, they were able to move where they wanted and deploy the ransomware. Yeah. So think about what you post to social media. Think about the job title you put on LinkedIn. Think about how much you reveal about your family relationships. Whether you're buying a brand new car or bought a brand new car, are you going to splash that? Where you're going on holiday? Post this sort of, post your holiday snaps when you come back, not while you're there. How much information you disclose about your pets and your sports interests. It will be used against you. Cyber attack cost. So M&S say there will be a £300 million hit to profits this year. About half of their recovery costs will be covered by their cyber insurance. How many of you have cyber insurance, by the way? If you do take out cyber insurance, pay attention to the terms and conditions. Get somebody like me to make sure that you are adhering to those terms and conditions. Because if we go back to the business that I'm working with who suffered the Lockbit attack, they'd been in business 15 years and they had cyber insurance. So they went to their cyber insurance company and said, look, we're collateral damage of this bigger attack. And their cyber insurance company said, we can't see on any of your details when you disclose to us that you'd outsourced your data storage to a third party. Your policy is null and void. So make sure you adhere to the terms and conditions. The UK government's paper issued earlier this year puts the recovery costs, average costs for a UK SME between £3,500 and £8,000. And that's for businesses like us. Micro businesses, maybe with a couple of employees. If you're getting bigger, you can multiply those figures by 10. But it's not only the cost of business recovery and putting in future resilience. There's also the lost sales, current and future lost sales. So Marks and Spencer's, their online shop was offline for 6 to 7 weeks. During the same period, Zara's online sales rocketed. And the Zara CEO has actually thanked Marks and Spencer's for their increase in sales. So you lose customers. How many of those people who bought goods from Zara will go back to Marks and Spencer's? Nobody knows, but it's going to cost Marks and Spencer's a lot of money to get those customers back. Then there's the potential for higher supplier costs. So you're connected to your suppliers, you get a good deal from your suppliers, but you've suffered a cyber attack and they're trusting you waivers because they think, are they going to be a gateway to us? So they give you not so good deals in the future. And then there's the loss, as I've said about Marks and Spencer's, the lost trust and reputation. Once your reputation is very hard won, but it is lost in a few seconds. And it's your brand can be damaged, as Marks and Spencer's has been, as every business that's been attacked has been. However, there is some good news. Hi, Linda.
Hi, I couldn't find where to raise my hand. So I've been looking, like you said, if there's any questions, you can raise your hand.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know it's a bit past now, but on your phone, because most of us do things on our phone, you've got face recognition. Is that more secure than passwords, or can hackers, get around that?
That is a very good question. I have a client whose daughter's face is recognized as hers on her phone. Generally, I would say that biometrics are more secure than passwords, but they're not perfect yet. I think it is, hugely unlikely that somebody else's face will be recognized as yours. Yes, if a family member has sufficient features that are identical to yours, they may be able to get into your phone.
Because a lot of people do business, don't they, on their phones all the time.
Oh,
when you're out and about.
Yeah. And we're coming to that to that as
Oh,
well.
sorry.
But that's all right, no problem.
I'll let you get back
Um,
to your good news then,
yeah,
and we'll cover that after.
indeed. But what I was just going to finish off by saying is if a family member gets into your phone and commits mischief, you've got bigger problems than the mischief they've done on your phone. Yes, so yes, there is some good news. Oh, before we get to the good news, the value of your data. Your data is the crown jewels of your company. And it's, if you lose that data, it is an absolute nightmare to have to reconstruct it. So if you look, the Tower of London, which I visited a few weeks ago, has multiple layers of security. It's got the outer wall. It's got the moat that would have been filled with water. Then it's got the inner wall. Then it's got, armed soldiers in there. It's got the yeomen of the guard. Around the crown jewels, there's alarmed cabinets that the crown jewels are in, and CCTV. Your cybersecurity has got to be multiple layered too, because cyber criminals make money from your data. So not only will all the data that they've stolen, will they have encrypted it so that as a business we can't access it? They will have extracted it before they encrypted it, and then they will be using it. They will be sending out phishing attacks to the co-ops members, to Marks and Spencer's online shoppers, trying to make them click on a link and lose their money, give away their payment card details, etc., and lose money. So we're not only protecting our own businesses, we are protecting our customers as well, and our suppliers. So here's the good news. Cybersecurity simply. Password management. Who uses a password manager app here? Fantastic. I recommend this to all of my clients. They generate unique passwords for every account. They would be either long, complex passwords. By that, I mean uppercase, lowercase letters, special characters, numbers. Or they will generate password phrases. So these are things, for instance, if I look around where I am now, I can see a rug, a window, and a desk. That could be your password phrase. How many of you have heard about pass keys and have been offered pass keys? Yeah. They're not, our industry hasn't been extremely good at getting the message across about pass keys. Back in the 1990s, Bill Gates promised us a passwordless future. Well, 30 years later, it is finally arriving. Password technology in 2025 is changing, and pass keys are like, so if you think about your front door, you've got the lock manufacturer, say Yale or Chubb, holding the public key. They manufacture the lock. Your front door key is your personal access to the public key. And that's exactly, if that makes sense, that is exactly what a pass key is. So when you log on to your Microsoft 365, Microsoft holds the public key for everybody to access Microsoft 365, but you can only access it with your personal key, which will decrypt the access tunnel into Microsoft 365. And coming back to what we were just discussing about access to your phone, it will align your private key probably with a biometric. So probably on your computer, with your fingerprint, on your phone, with your facial recognition, or your iris recognition. And this, if you get offered them, accept them, but still store them in your password manager app. Don't store passwords in your browser, because again, there are attacks over the last 18 months or so where you're persuaded to click on a link and malware is downloaded to your browser and they steal all your passwords. Two-factor or multi-factor authentication for all accounts. Again, a lot of companies will offer you the option of having a text to send the second factor. It's better than nothing. Texts can be intercepted, so I again prefer to use an authentication app, such as Microsoft's authentication app, Google Authenticator, or a third party. There's a third party app which I use called Authy. Make sure your PC, Mac, mobile phone, tablet, any other device are configured to accept the monthly updates, because these are security updates, most of them. And if you don't accept them, if you don't reboot your PC and you won't accept, they won't be pushed down to your PC, and it leaves your PC vulnerable. Make sure your PC's firewall is configured, and make sure that your disk is encrypted. How many of you work in public? How many of you work from Starbucks or Costa or any other coffee bar or public? Do you use a virtual private network, Mark? So again, you public Wi-Fi. The threat actors know this is going to be a rich source of potential victims. They'll be lurking in the dark spaces. So if you're working in public, use a virtual private network. And this encrypts, again, your tunnel between the Wi-Fi and, or you're not widening your Wi-Fi, between you and your device and your systems. Also, use a screen auto lock, so that after a couple of minutes of inactivity, the data on your screen is covered by your screen lock. Make sure you're using a paid-for anti-detection and response software. Used to be called antivirus. The name has changed because it uses AI now to analyze how you're using your devices and designs the protection appropriately. How many of you have got protection on your phones and your tablets? Because they can be attacked as well with malware. And then finally, backup. Who thinks Microsoft, Google, Apple back up your data? So make sure you back up. Yes, you could entrust it to your IT support company, but I would also, well, number one, ask them how they're doing it. I always recommend that you take probably at least 2 backups. You could back up to your own hard disk, but also back up to a specialist cloud backup provider who will be scanning your data as it comes in and will alert you. They will clean up your data, but it will alert you that you have malware, ransomware, or some other nasty lurking in your data. So thank you so much for listening to me. Any more questions? Anne,
Lots of questions, but I'll choose one. You know, with the password manager,
yes.
you were assuming that I don't use the ones that are made up by them. I make them up myself.
Why?
Because I'm not going to tell you how I create them. but
If I spent a couple of hours with you in the pub,
yes,
I could probably extract enough information from you to get very near your password.
it's not password. They are random, and it depends what I'm doing when I'm setting one up. But
And how do you remember it? Oh,
I do use the password manager.
Yeah, okay.
I go into the password manager, but I don't use the long strings of randomness that, will take me half an hour to type up. It'll be
but if your password manager is configured properly,
yeah,
it automatically fills in your passwords.
yes. But sometimes I have to copy over.
If you're going to use a password manager, use its full functionality.
Yeah.
Especially now, as I say, the pass keys are becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
Because they are totally random, very long strings of text which are encrypted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend using the full.
Yeah. Okay. Pass keys, save it in your password manager.
Yes.
So what are pass keys?
As I say, pass keys are finally creating the passwordless future. So they are all the big tech companies are certainly offering them at the moment, and they are long gobbledygook text. But in fact, what they're actually doing is encrypting your they're encrypting your access to whatever service it is you're using.
Okay. But is my fingerprint a pass key?
So what they do is they link it to they usually link it to a biometric. So yes, and in fact, it's not actually your fingerprint, it is detecting a pulse. You have to be alive. Don't believe the television programs where they cut a finger off and get access.
Yeah. Okie doke. So I should have that somehow saved in my password manager as well.
Yes. So the pass key.
Yeah.
When you set it up, say Google offer you a pass key.
Yeah.
You say yes, I want to set that up. It should automatically save in your password manager rather than your browser if your password manager is set up correctly.
Okay.
But it will also align on your whichever device you're using. So these are available across all your devices. So on your phone it will say we'll use facial recognition. On your laptop it will say we'll use a pulse.
Okay, cool. Somebody else's turn.
Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I've got two questions. I guess one is you mentioned about do we have virus protection on our phones? Are iPhones still kind of they always say they're
let me cover off the Apple myth from the start. Let's go back in history. When Bill Gates and Steve Jobs set up their companies, they had different ideas. Bill Gates wanted Windows to work across every PC in the world. And that meant, and every PC works in a slightly different way, which makes Windows more vulnerable than Apple. However, because Steve Jobs only wanted Apple software to work on Apple hardware. However, if we wind the clock forward to today, the pandemic allowed people to, well, didn't allow people, we had to work from home, which meant that people started using their home devices to access their work systems. And when people went back to work, they said, look, we've been using a Mac at home. It's great. I want to use a Mac at work. So the user base of Macs has increased as big companies now offer the choice. So the user base is wider, and they are now, there's now malware being written specifically for Macs, for iPhones, for iPads, because the threat actors are looking at it and they are saying, okay, yeah, their Macs are being used in HSBC, et cetera. And if you can afford a Mac, you're obviously quite wealthy, so you're a valid target.
Okay. All right. And thank you. And the second question was just a bit unrelated to your presentation today, but there's a procurement site called Compete4, which
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Mark.
There's a procurement site called Compete4, which
right.
Which Heathrow, for example, are using. And one of the questions when you register is, do you have Cyber Essentials certification? And I had obviously I don't. I had a quick look, and there seems to be a charge for that, or is there another way?
Yes. So Cyber Essentials is the UK government's attempt to get people to have a minimum level of accreditation. Funnily enough, that minimum level of accreditation is what I've gone through just now. Yes, there is a fee, and it starts at so there's two levels of Cyber Essentials: Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. Cyber Essentials is a self-assessment. I would still recommend getting somebody like myself to do that for you, because it is quite technical. And as I say, for a small business, a micro business starts at £300, and then it's a sliding scales going up. If you decide to go for Cyber Essentials Plus, then you're talking more serious money, and it escapes me at the moment. It's 4 figures. I'm taking a company through it at the moment. You're talking £1,000 plus, because then we're doing automated scanning. So if you're not honest on the self-assessment, and how many of you just use the admin account on your computer to do everything? Because this will be detected by the scanning. So you should have an admin account to do admin things, like setting up a new user, setting up, configuring the PC, for example, and then you should have a standard user account. Now, if you're not honest when you do Cyber Essentials, it will be picked up by the scanning when you do Cyber Essentials Plus. My argument, so there's only about 30,000 businesses of 5 million in the UK that have Cyber Essentials accreditation. The vast majority of those will be because a supplier, such as Heathrow, has asked for that minimum level of accreditation. Unless you are asked for it, I would save you money, get somebody like me to have a look at what you're doing for cybersecurity, and see how secure you are. Then if you are applying for contracts from Heathrow, we can, it's not going to be a huge step to obtain the cyber essentials.
Okay. So I can't say I've just done Bryan's webinar, so therefore I'm covered. No.
Unfortunately not. I would love that.
Very good. Thanks, Bryan.
Are there any more questions? I think Anne, back to you.
Hi, Anne.
If I'm allowed, sorry.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I'm not going to be the biggest target, I don't think, but what kind of backup do I need to do to make sure that I can recover if somebody tried to stop my business?
Right. So, no, you may not be the direct target, but as I outlined with the company that I'm working with at the moment, they were collateral damage of a bigger attack.
Mm-hmm.
So your data could still be encrypted, even though they weren't physically after you. Yeah, but so what I suggest is there are a number of specialist backup companies that are out there. I use a company called Acronis, ACRONIS, and I'm a business partner of them as well. So yeah, I can arrange for you to have Acronis back up your data.
Brilliant. Good. But my one thing with them is because I do use them already, so I'm very happy to hear you recommend them. That they're doing online backups for me all the time, every day. But what about all the stuff that I've got in the cloud? Are they backing that up as well, or just the stuff on my PC?
They should. So the stuff you've got in the cloud, Microsoft 365, for instance, yes, they should be backing that up. Have a chat with your contact there and make sure that that is being backed up.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. That's the thing that's always baffled me. And I did a local clone of my disk onto a flash drive as well. Am I
okay?
Am I good?
The only thing I would say, yes, you are good. The only thing I would say is that if there is any ransomware, malware, etc., lurking in your data, it's on that hard drive as well.
Okay.
So make sure when you connect that hard drive to your computer that your endpoint detection and response software covers that hard drive as well and scans that hard drive.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Sybil.
Hi, Bryan. Thank you so much for your presentation. So my question is back to the topic of password managers. So we always talk about using these, but how secure are password managers? Can they be compromised? And are there any in particular that you would recommend? I use LastPass personally. Yeah, how secure is that, and is there a better solution?
So yes, and yes to all of those questions. How secure are they? So yes, there have been cases of password managers being hacked. And there have been cases where people have not kept their logon credentials secure to the password manager. And so the password manager as a whole has not been hacked, but their personal account has been, because they haven't kept their logon credentials secure. So I use my password manager to generate my logon credentials for my password manager, because I know that if I forget my password, I can access it on my phone or, on another device. So the next thing I would say, yes, and I can't remember offhand. I'll let you know offline, Sybil, when I remember after this, which one has been hacked several times. The one I recommend is 1Password.
Right.
And the reason I recommend 1Password is from the moment you start signing up to 1Password, they encrypt your data.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. They also recognize that if they're attacked and they lose all our passwords, they no longer have a business. So they're employing military grade cybersecurity. They're monitoring they're under attack every day. They've defeated every attack.
Mm-hmm.
So far. So that's who I recommend.
Thank you so much.